edge is decreased a little bit. It's slowly turning, it almost looks like it's turned to the southeast. So I'm breaking away from it as fast as I can because it's getting a little closer for my comfort. But it's changed shape, it's barreled, it's gotten a little higher, the base has rised. The base is probably about 1,300 to 1,400 feet above the ground, so it's just 300 or 400 feet below me. And as you can see, it's got a definite cone shaped on it. And it appears that it's
We are listening live to KFOR right now as we are tracking a large, violent, and possibly deadly tornado just south of Oklahoma City.
All right, I want to go right now to Carl Parker, who's watching this very closely. And Carl, could this be a good sign?
Well, you know, we have seen a little bit of a lessening in the velocity, but this has been such a dangerous tornado so far that that's not going to help very much. Right now, the velocity indicating that we've got a storm that's probably on the order of about 140 miles per hour or something like that, maybe a little bit less than that. And that is now headed towards Lake Stanley Draper. So Stanley Draper Lake is the area that's going to get hit next by this storm. And then, Brian, it's going to be southeastern Oklahoma City. It looks like areas primarily south of 240. The storm does not change direction very much.
So it looks like it'll go south of Tinker Air Force Base and north end of the lake there, and then into a much less populated area. And you can see here on the velocity, if you were watching a moment ago, there were much more pronounced bright greens and bright reds in a much bigger area. So as, in fact, you can see, it looks like it's trying to rope out there. The tornado is getting much smaller diameter. In fact, you can see it kind of dissipating here right before our eyes. Now, now that doesn't mean that this threat is gone.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Because as we saw yesterday, sometimes these, in fact, these supercells always cycle to some degree, right? Now, will that cloud base descend again? Will it drop another tornado? Remains to be seen. But boy, for the folks there near that lake, and there we just got a new scan just came in there near the lake there. This is fantastic news because whatever is left of it is dramatically less intense. In fact, it looks like maybe the tornado has even dissipated, although we're still seeing a pretty good rotation aloft with this system.
Yeah, these things maintain their intensity when you've got a perfect balance of an inflow of warm and humid air and then cooler air that wraps around the backside of the system. But there are times when the cooler air will win out, essentially. It will overcome the warmer air, the inflow, choke off that inflow, and the result is what you see right there when the storm begins to weaken. But there is still a very strong mid-level and even lower level rotation here, so it can go through this whole process and then once again begin to take in that inflow and the tornado can develop once again. That's exactly what we saw, by the way, yesterday in Edmond and Arcadia. On the north side of town, we saw a weaker tornado that dissipated and then a very strong tornado developed in the wake of that.
And what we see on the velocity on the radar is still rotation aloft. So we know that the supercell still has the potential to produce a tornado, but clearly on the video, the tornado does not seem to be. Now that doesn't mean that there is no rotational wind, but we clearly are not seeing the kind of strength of a system that we saw before. I was just going to make a point, and I forgot exactly what my point was going to be. But the news at this moment is much better for the folks downstream in the southeastern, what's called on the map here, southeast Oklahoma City, which really is a much less populated suburban area of Oklahoma City. It's actually got a lot of trees in it, and you can see kind of on the helicopter shot there, looking over on the other side of the lake and downstream of this tornado.
Yeah, and unfortunately this thing was really peaking right at the moment that it was coming through one of the more heavily populated areas south of Oklahoma City, right through Moore, which is the same area that was hit in 1999 and not very far away from the area. At least the same not the exact same part of town, but at least the same region of the metro area. And unfortunately, it was a violent tornado as it was coming through there, and I fear that we're going to be hearing about quite a bit of destruction and damage.
I think that's certain. I remember what my point was. So the tornado is like a spinning top. You can have a spinning top, but if the top runs into almost any little thing, it can get disrupted. A tornado requires, as you said, and put it very well, a perfect balance. Look, this is live, obviously, on one of the major highways. I tried to catch that exit sign there. And do we know which highway is this on? 35? I wonder.
This is on 44.
On 44. Okay. All right, so let's try and keep an eye out here for an exit sign. Obviously, still a lot of dark skies and violent weather potential in the Oklahoma City area. But Carl, the velocity looks very, very different than it did just a little while ago, the couplet is barely visible.
That's really remarkable. In fact, we can step back here. I can take a look at the velocity mode and show you how this thing has progressed. And I don't know if we can take a look at Max 7 here, or excuse me, take a look at graphics 16, and we can see where there was an incredibly well-defined rotational couplet right there in Moore, came right over Moore, and then we step forward here. You see the scan still pretty well-defined right there, and then still so right around Highway 77. That is the most recent scan right there, and there is still evidence of that, but you can see that it's not as tight as it once was.
All right, we have here where we can take a look at the comparison of the tracks. So south of town there, you see where this tornado has gone in this area down here, and there is the 1999 track that went more of an angle across Moore. So there you see the cell. It's that cell as you track that across south of downtown Moore, Oklahoma. With you see the word city up there. That's Oklahoma City. So downtown Oklahoma City is well to the north. So this is moving through the South Metro, and now tending to dissipate out here, well southeast of town and south of Tinker Air Force Base.
Yeah, and maybe we can have our guys get a look at where I believe the 2003 storm took a path that was more similar to the one that's occurring right now, farther to the south and a little bit more to the east. But they got two very strong tornadoes within 4 years, and rather remarkably, there was a tremendous difference in the amount of fatalities and injuries between those two storms, though there was a similar number of homes that were destroyed, but it was that people were most likely much more aware of what was going on after 1999.
I mean, one thing that is true about in Oklahoma City, there is no place better prepared for this.
Right.
The way the media works, our partners there at KFOR are just spectacular at this,
yes,
as they are at other Oklahoma City media. The way people live tornadoes and respond to tornadoes, really as a result, as you said, of the 1999 Moore tornado. They've changed their thinking. Many more people have put safe rooms in their homes.
Yes.
And as I'm sure the thinking in Joplin will change and has changed after the Joplin tornado.
Absolutely. Ladies, over to you.
All right, thanks guys. Great expert analysis on this tornado that has now seemed to have dissipated, but still capable of producing a tornado.
And we've got our own Weather Channel crews on the ground as well. We want to get to Dr. Greg Forbes joining us on the phone in Elmore City, Oklahoma. Greg, what have you seen?
Well, we were on a storm that was farther down to the south. It did produce a tornado, but when we saw what a monster storm was in progress up near Moore, we have diverted and are heading back that way. We anticipate we'll probably be doing some damage coverage. We've been watching on our radars that debris ball that came from west and west-southwest of Moore right across the south side of Moore, and our radar is a little slow out here with not the greatest of internet reception, but we do now see the weakening that has taken place. Let's hope that continues. But it still has a pretty good hook echo on it. I wouldn't be at all surprised to see that this storm would re-intensify over to the in the vicinity of. Unfortunately, it's coming up that probably just a little north of Bethel Acres, where we were reporting from this morning, but it's still east, still well west of there.
All right, Dr. Forbes, we're getting a picture of some of the damage out there right now. Looks like a lot of trees debarked and a lot of homes and cars totally destroyed. You know, seeing this damage right now, I mean, this is pretty incredible. This does look like what we saw in Shawnee a little bit. And look at maybe Interstate 35. It's possible. I'm looking at Interstate 35 maybe, and cars totally destroyed and flipped over on this interstate. I believe this is Interstate 35. A lot of cars are overturned. Either it's 44 or 35. I'm not sure which one it is. But, you know, the debris ball that, you know, they were claiming 2¼ mile wide. Have you ever, was Joplin like that, or was Tuscaloosa that large, the debris ball?
Yeah, the debris ball on Tuscaloosa was about 2 miles wide, but it was a combination of debris in the inner part and then some rain that was also wrapping around the outer part. So that could be the case here. I was thinking that probably the main core of the debris ball, as it was around the Moore area there, I was measuring was about 1.5 miles wide. So I heard the storm riders saying they thought visually that the tornado was probably about 0.5 mile. So I think probably once again we have some debris ball on radar that was a little bit bigger, that may have had a little bit of precipitation and or dust that was wrapping around, and maybe the tornado wind's not quite that big.
Greg, we're looking at incredible pictures from KFOR. Neighborhoods just seeing a lot of damage. We want to listen in now to KFOR.
The center, as you can see, the track from here, it went just south of 4th Street, and it's going to go right towards the, I'm getting hit by some heavy rain here. It's going to go right towards the Walmart, the neighborhood market. The neighborhood market is on Southeast 4th and Eastern. The track went just south of it, and we're getting hit by some RFDs. This track went just south of it and went straight to the west. And it's going to cross another housing addition right there. I believe it's Apple Creek, and it's going to come up on passing a Tower Road, and it's going to cross the train tracks there. From the train tracks, we're still in between 12th Street, or we're between 19th Street and 4th Street. It went straight across there, hit those houses. It run right along the highway, and looks like it went over. If you'll go to your right, Travis, we'll go from Lowe's to the Warren Theater. Looks like it tracked just north of the Warren Theater, and it hit the Warren Theater. It hit the bowling alley, it hit the bank, it hit the post office, and right there on the corner is the Norman Regional Healthcare Center. It's the hospitals right there on 4th and Telephone Road. It hit that. We're going to continue to go to the west. We have several housing additions right here. We've got a trailer park. And this thing just completely destroyed right here as we go from Santa Fe, and again I'm between 19th Street and 4th Street and more. We're still headed west. Let me zoom in here, and look at that school. Look at that school, guys. Oh my God, right there. Keep coming back to your left, Travis. Keep coming back to your left. If you guys can see this, I don't know how to explain it, how to describe it. This is terrible. This is war zone terrible. This school is completely gone. Now we're going to stay right here. It's right to the right. If you'll pan back to the right, you're going to see the school. That was it right there. That's what's left of it. And you can see all the housing additions that are, all this house right here is completely destroyed. And, guys, we're going to have to definitely police and everybody en route. That is a school. No, that's a storage unit. Come back to your left. If you guys are still with me here, this damage path is right there in the top right of your screen. There's the school. I'm unsure sure the exact name of it, but that's going to be on. It's going to be south of 4th Street. It's going to be east of Santa Fe. Whatever school that is, it's going to be. It is, like you see, completely destroyed as kids run up to hopefully their loved ones. But this whole area right here, guys, is it's completely destroyed. The houses are destroyed. They're completely leveled. We're gonna just stay right here in this area. This is the hardest hit area. Police have folks stopped right here on Santa Fe, in between 19th Street and 4th Street. This is by far the hardest hit areas. You can see we've got more police out there trying to find everybody, or doing what they do best, is rendering aid. And all the kids are running. We'll stay here for a little bit and see if we get some damages, or if we get a report of how everybody's doing. I'm just going to talk to you as we kind of stay on this shot. As we continue to look back towards the west, this whole area is just completely demolished. Every house in this area is leveled. I'm fixing to cross. I'm just north of 149th Street, and this whole area right here, this neighborhood, in between Santa Fe and Western.
John, can you hear me?
Police are driving through there looking for people. Yeah, I can hear you. Linda, can you hear me?
Yes, John, we need to let people know that they're going to set up a search and rescue headquarters at the Warren Theater. We saw your video from before where it showed the Warren Theater was in relatively good shape compared to many of those buildings around it. You're doing a terrific job of bringing home the misery that's happening right now. We need the prayers of everyone for more Oklahoma again. Now, you're telling me that this is video of parents reuniting with their children. I'm told that that's a school in the background. You can see police officers all around, but look at the ground on that shot previously before he pulled out. Go ahead, John. Let me show you another school. It's right out my door, Travis. If you keep coming around, perfect. Now straight down and to your left, right there.
That's
Oh,
another
no.
school, Linda.
Oh, my goodness.
And that
Oh,
one looks
no.
like, I don't know what to say. That one looks harder. It looks harder hit than any of them before.
Oh, my goodness.
As a parent, this is kind of hard to report on.
Oh,
But we're
horrific.
going to stay in the air. We're going to show you, I mean, these pictures tell everything. The Orr family farm, if you guys are familiar with that, it's going to be, it's like on Penn, I think, and 149th. It's right out the left.
And Travis,
Travis,
John, have Travis pull back into
Yes.
that school. Those appear to be the first people who've been able to make it to the scene, walking carefully through that debris. You see other people now, they're gathering. Of course, we're trying to find out if the kids were being sheltered there or someplace else. Our thoughts and prayers are with everybody in the Moore area. The devastation is complete. One of our cameramen called it atomic bomb-like devastation.
It's just unbelievable. And again, we're trying to figure out right now, were the kids there? And of course, they're looking right now, looking for, we hope they're not looking for fatalities or survivors. We're hoping that the kids were gone, but we're not sure at this point. We're getting as much information in as we can
Second of
right
two
now.
schools destroyed in Moore, Oklahoma, along with a huge section of residential housing. If we go back to those shots in the future, you'll see that the ground literally is nothing but mud. There is nothing on the ground.
It looks like May 3rd, what we saw on May 3rd of 1999.
Go ahead.
I'm being told, guys, that is the Plaza Towers Elementary School. So if you guys
Plaza
can find
Towers.
out,
Okay.
Plaza Towers, and I'm unsure of this other school here. It's going to be on like 149th and in between Penn and Western. The Orr family farm, if you guys are familiar with that area, is right behind that. The family farm is trashed. This whole area between between like Penn, you have Western and Santa Fe. Those 3 miles or those 2 mile sections right there. Guys, everything is leveled for almost the whole mile. Travis is kind of showing you some wide shots here. This is unbelievable.
And John, this is reminiscent of the
Terrible
May
damage.
3rd, 1999 storm that moved through the Moore area and literally tore out entire neighborhoods and
That's what it
housing
looked like.
additions.
That's exactly what it
And we're
looked
looking at
like.
the same thing right there. We pray to God that those people were somehow underground when that hit. On May 3rd, 1999, people were diving into manhole covers trying to get away from the storm if they didn't have underground shelter. Mike Morgan was warning these folks at least an hour, at least 30 minutes before the storm hit, to leave the area if they did not have underground sheltering in place. We hope that that's the case. We hope the death toll does not resemble that May 3rd tornado.
Mike, was that the exact path of the May 3rd tornado? Was that the...
This was along the exact path, and then as it came deeper into Moore, it's a little bit on the southern sides of the May 3rd path. And I don't want to make comparisons too much to May 3rd, just in terms of, well, what I'll say is this tornado is, I believe, is wider. And I think that we're going to find that there are many more structures that have been hit compared to May 3rd from what you and I are seeing right now live from Bob Moore Chopper 4. May 3rd took some areas that weren't developed back in 1999 through Moore. And I think the total was 6,000 some odd structures that were damaged or destroyed. I believe the amount may be more with this particular tornado today.
And you look at that scene of destruction there and the small figures of those rescuers working frantically here, looking here. It's just, where do you begin? I mean, that's the question. Where do you begin on something like this?
Mike, how long was that tornado on the ground?
Well, it was on the ground for just under 1 hour, Linda. It set down just southwest of west of Newcastle, and then went to that large wedge. And I think the peak width on it was about 1.5 miles wide. That's one thing that I'm noticing looking at these pictures is the debris path appears to be significantly wider through Moore than May 3rd, 1999. And again, most of this path is just on the southern sides of the May 3rd path.
We just saw somebody there, obviously in distress, as any of us would be, walking upon a scene like that, looking through the rubble there.
Again, let us repeat that Warren Theater is going to be the staging area for search and rescue. We know that a lot of people are going into that area, but please, only people who are supposed to be there in terms of search and rescue, fire departments, police, stay out of the area otherwise. It's nothing but dangerous, and the police need their room to be able to get in there and try to save anybody who may be in that debris. And that, of course, right now is their utmost importance.
And again, we're looking at the Plaza Towers School, is what we're being told that is. We do not know if the kids were in there or not. We're hoping they weren't, of course, but we'll continue to try and get you more information on that.
John's moving back around to the other side.
That is a huge destruction path.
But there's still trees there. I'm not sure that is the destruction.
Just north
because
of
on the other shots there were no trees anywhere. And that's what we're looking at. He's Mike, turn up Mike's mic. There we go.
Let me break away here for just a second. Let's go to what we have going on right now. I need to talk about a couple areas here, and I'm only going to talk about the areas that are the most danger right now. I will tell you this storm is recycling now in southeastern Oklahoma County. Let's go to the North Doppler and take a look at it. Tornado warning does continue. It's south of Hera right now and to the southwest.
Again, we're listening in on KFOR coverage of the devastating tornado that went right through Moore, Oklahoma. We've understood that a couple of schools have been destroyed. The Warren Theater is where they are organizing a search and rescue at this point.
And from the aerials, they're thinking the path of destruction could be more than a mile wide from what they're seeing, possibly rivaling or even being greater than the 1999 May 3rd tornado that moved through Moore, Oklahoma. Total devastation is what they're seeing in many neighborhoods. Again, as Kelly mentioned, 2 schools hit very hard, the Plaza Tower School being one of them. And they're asking everybody to don't go anywhere, stay where you are. Let search and rescue get in there. Let the police get in there and do what they need to do.
As this tornado was coming through, it was at least a mile wide, and unfortunately we did hear reports that it may have also affected a hospital in Moore, Oklahoma as well. We are working to confirm that information, but again, many neighborhoods just devastated. You can see the emergency personnel on the scene right now, cars that were demolished and buildings just completely flattened.
And we're getting word that a lot of people are trying to get to this area, probably to see what their house looks like, to get to family members. Their emergency manager is saying, please don't go anywhere. Do not go, because right now you're clogging up traffic and emergency vehicles cannot get there.
We want to listen back into KFOR's coverage.
And friends who are in that area, we can assure you police will be down there. There's a whole stream of red and blue lights heading to Moore, Oklahoma right now. At this point there is very little you can do, very little chance that you'll even be able to get into those areas. So
and again,
hearts are with you.
Absolutely, and they said we appreciate those who want to help and those who are frantic about family members, but they've got to get in there right now.
A post-tornadic fire. Here we go. Come to your left.
Okay, John's reporting a post-traumatic fire that may have broken out.
Post-tornadic fire, yeah.
There it is.
Oh, gas leak.
Oh, it's a gas leak.
It's a gas leak.
Okay.
So please, this area remains dangerous. Stay out of the area. We don't know exactly what is on fire there, but you can tell
it looks like it's a structure.
It's a house. Yeah. It's a house. It's
on
fire.
It's a house.
Yeah.
John's reporting it's a house. John, can you see emergency crews getting into those areas at all yet?
Yes, you know, here's the deal. The toughest part and the hardest part that they really need to get to, there's so much debris that, I mean, you need a monster truck to get through. Yeah. There's cars upside down. There's, you know, debris. There's houses, and there's whole houses in the road. So the hardest part they need to get to, they can't get to. But yes, there are a lot of people on the roadway. And here's what part of the issue is the police did a great job stopping people and not letting them even get in the damaging path. And so what they've done is now these people that were in their cars are still congested on the roadway, and now they have to get out of the way. And it was bumper to bumper on almost all these roads are 4-lane roads, you know. So they were full north and south of this damage track. So now they have to find a way to get out. But in some of these neighborhoods, I am seeing a lot of people driving around, and you know, it could be that's their house. They're wanting to check on somebody, or you know, maybe they're just looky-loos. At this time, I don't know. And I'm sure everybody wants to help, but the biggest issue here is the congestion of traffic.
Yeah, you're right, John. We want to tell you about, there's another area that is being opened right now, 89th and Western, Oak Crest Church of Christ, for anybody who does not have power. If you know somebody who does not have power, because if they don't, they're probably not hearing us right now. If you know somebody who doesn't have power, if you've been talking to them on the cell phone, tell them that the Church of Christ at 89th and Western is having some folks come in there and stay with him. That's a refuge center.
Your heart hurts looking at these images. We ask all of you to keep all of these people in your prayers. We have no indication yet of death toll, but we can tell you that just by looking at devastation, unless people heeded the warnings and left the area or were underground, the chances of survival for that type of storm are bad.
Well, those are just foundations.
Well, see,
left.
look at the ground
Right,
behind it.
right.
There's just nothing. It's like those foundations are just scabs on the landscape.
That's the fire that John was talking about a minute ago, and I know things are wet there. It will keep the ember problem down a little bit, but we sure don't need any fire spreading right now to any of these other areas.
Also need to tell you that Oklahoma City Schools has alerted us to the fact that they are releasing their students. The buses will begin bringing your children home. So Oklahoma City parents, welcome them home with hugs. And you know, it's a scary situation for all of these kids who are being held away from their parents. But as you can see, the devastation at the two schools in Moore, Oklahoma, the Plaza Tower Elementary, and we don't have the name of the other one just yet, was complete. So we have our fingers crossed that those kids were somehow protected or were already gone from the scene. But we do have rescue crews going through the areas right now looking for those who may have survived.
And we're waiting. I know a lot of you folks out there are wanting to know what the injury figures are, or we pray no fatalities, but if are there any fatalities, we'll let you know just as quickly as we find out. But we certainly want to let the emergency officials do their jobs. This is a search and rescue right now, and they've got to get all these folks that they can rescued that may be trapped in the rubble, like we saw yesterday on a much smaller scale than this. But what they were doing yesterday.
John, you did a great job just a few minutes ago for those folks who are just now joining us of moving down the tornado path. Can you do that one more time so that people who are familiar with the Moore area can see where that storm went and what it did? And you are so good about this area because you live down there. And I know that you fear for your family right now, but thank you so much for staying in the air and helping us out with these pictures, because I think it's what our viewers need to see as the storm continues to move. Now, Mike's going to come back in just a moment with other areas that may be of concern to viewers where this tornado is heading, recycling and heading again. But if you'll take us back to where the tornado entered Moore and show us what you see and describe it again for us, I think that would be priceless.
And you might give us a cross streets too, John.
Yeah, coming back to the left. All right, coming back to the left, we're going to have Penn, and in Oklahoma City, it's going to be 134th Street. Yeah, but hang on, come back to the right. Sorry, and right there, that intersection, that's Penn and 134th. And back to the left there's a lot of scabbed landscape, homes out here, kind of on acreage, so there's not the population density's not there. So we're going to start right here at Penn and 134th Street. We're going to pan back to the right. So in Moore, this is going to be 4th Street for you guys we're fixing to come into. And as you can see, all the houses right here, primarily roof damage. Just to the north of that, as you can see, right there, there used to be, I'm drawing a blank here because I'm not used to seeing it without anything.
Oh,
I believe
gosh.
there's a convenience store right there. And then just in the north side of that oval track, that's at the Orr family farm. So right there, we're going to travel down 149th Street here, which is going to be just south of the Warren Theater. We're in between 4th and 19th Street. We're tracking along. There's the new ditch that they built, the Target, the Home Depot. We're coming up this way right here.
Are those the buildings we see destroyed in right there? That was a Home Depot and a Target. Is that what you're saying?
No. This right here, that's the Plaza Towers Elementary School.
Plaza Towers, okay.
Yep, we're just north of 19th Street, south of 4th Street,
Okay.
And we're fixing to cross Santa Fe. If you guys are familiar with this area, there's like the golf course here on the south side of the road. All this where the house is burning at's in that neighborhood that's just north of, like there's a Dan McGinnis, like an Irish pub right there, just north of that. We're going to continue to go to the east over several other schools and homes that if Travis will go just to the left just a bit, that's that first elementary school we showed you right there, and now we'll back out and we'll continue to come. Now this, where we're coming to right now, is just on the south side of the Moore Warren Theater. This is going to be on Telephone Road in between 4th Street. That's what? Yeah, we're coming up on
so there's the Warren over on
in between 4th Street. There's the Warren right there.
Yeah, right.
If we're going to look to your left, Travis will pan back out, and that's the Norman Hospital right there. Right in front of that is going to be the bowling alley, the AMC bowling alley, if you guys are familiar, right there.
So
in front
it's
of that
gone.
was, I believe, Yeah, it's gone.
You can still see
in
the
front of that
lanes,
was
yeah.
a Century 21 office. To the left side of that was a bank. And now we're crossing I-35. We're just south of 4th Street, and we're continuing to see this is another housing addition that comes into the area. We're coming up to where more annex this property right here. They're putting a park in. We're crossing the railroad tracks now. We're still headed eastbound.
Okay.
We're coming behind the alternative school here in Moore. We're coming behind the neighborhood market, and we're fixing to cross Eastern. Just to the left is Eastern. Right there on the left side of your screen is Eastern and 4th Street. The tornado just tracked just south of Eastern and is continuing pretty much eastbound right now. The next building you're going to see in the top left of your screen is the Brink Junior High. It came just to the south, or the south side of it.
Just
pretty
missed
much
it.
just trashed. I believe that's the gym or the area where the kids do.
And we're going to briefly interrupt this coverage from KFOR to tell you about a new tornado warning. This is about 20 miles north of Tulsa. This is a tornado warning for Nowata, Osage, and Washington counties. You can see that there is a debris ball here with this particular storm. So another large and dangerous tornado that is now coming towards the Route 75 corridor. It looks like it's going to be moving possibly towards Vera and perhaps just south of Ramona, and then more towards Ugla. And you can see here the very well-defined rotational signature that's now just on top of Route 11 and again coming towards Route 75. And it looks like we've got velocities there totaling somewhere around 120 miles per hour, something in that area, so 110 miles per hour. So again, another large and dangerous tornado. This is about 20 miles to the north of Tulsa, and the movement on this cell is off towards the east and northeast, getting it towards Talala at around 427 and about 433 in Jamestown. So additional dangerous storms across parts of Oklahoma right now. We're going to have more on this coming up in just a few minutes. Do we want to go back now to KFOR's coverage?
This is clearly much more massive in scope in terms of the damage. Geographical area, it's much, much larger. Let's go ahead and take a look at the storm tracker right now. Now, there are quite a few tornado warnings out. We have Mike Bennett on this one. He does not see a tornado warning right now, but it is heading for Meeker and Prague, just to the north of Shawnee. It's just north of I-40, near the Fire Lake Grand Casino right now. It'll track just north of the Shawnee Mall. That has a tornado warning on it right now. And also severe storms continue in the Midwest City area.
All right, I want to tell you more about some additional tornado warnings that are now south of Oklahoma City as well. Let's take a look at what's going on here on the Doppler radar. And you can see the storm. This is the storm that came through the Moore area, and right now not showing much of a signature on Doppler radar. So certainly that is some better news that at least we are not seeing much rotation on that particular cell. Let's take a look at some of the cells that are farther southward. Tornado warning now for Garvin County. That includes Brady, Elmore City, and also in Foster. You can see the hook echo right there, and I believe that this is the cell that our tornado hunt chase team is now following. That this is south of Oklahoma City and along 35 there, and you can see there is a rotational couplet right here on the southwest side of the cell. Also another cell off to the south of that, well off to the south, another tornado warning on that cell, and we can take a look at that. That is pretty far off to the south into the west and southwestern Oklahoma, and this tornado warning in effect possibly affecting Waurika there, as well as Ryan and Sugden, and that is in Clay and Jefferson counties. That is moving towards Route 81. But Brandon, if we could get back to that storm that is to the north of Tulsa, that is the most well-defined storm that we've seen. We had a spotter report of a tornado on that cell, and in addition to that, also looking at a debris ball here. So this is very much the same signature that we saw with that storm that came through Oklahoma City. This is a more rural area, but nonetheless affecting towns that are to about 20 miles to the north of Tulsa, Oklahoma. And you can see again very well-defined rotational signature here that is now right on top of Route 11 coming towards Route 75. So if you are in the Vera area around the North 4000 Road and south of Ramona, now is the time to get to your safe shelter, as there is most likely a large and dangerous tornado coming your way. We look at it in 3D here. You can see the structure of the supercell storm, and then right in here, this is the tornado that is now again coming towards Route 75, about 20 miles to the north of Tulsa, and moving along towards the east right now at about 20 miles per hour. So it's been just a devastating day across, of course, just south of Oklahoma City. And there are ongoing tornado warnings, and so we may continue to see more of this kind of thing over the next several minutes here. Where do we want to go next, guys? Let's go back over to Kim and Kelly right now.
All right, Carl, we want to show you live pictures right now from our crew we're thinking this could be along Interstate 35 in Moore, Oklahoma, and emergency vehicles on the scene. Interstate 35 closed in Oklahoma City because of the tornado that moved right across it, taking a direct hit as it moved right across Interstate 35. And as you can see right now, this is KFOR. Right now looking live at some of the damage in Moore, Oklahoma, and a house fire, thinking this could be a house fire, maybe from a gas leak. And that's why they're urging folks, they're telling folks, you've got to stay home, stay where you are, do not go near this area. They need emergency vehicles to get in there. And already the interstates, the roadways are clogged with cars because they had all stopped trying to keep away from the tornado. Now they're trying to get emergency vehicles in here, and they're having a hard time. So please stay away from this area. This is another reason why you need to stay away, because of the gas leaks, and this could happen. And it's hard to get emergency vehicles in here. Fire trucks. Do you see a fire truck in there yet? It's going to be hard for them to get there. We're going to go ahead and listen back to KFOR right now.
We have obviously a plan on where we go, because I'm never going to be there during a storm. So we got a storm shelter. She goes to it. She knows what she's doing. She did text me she's okay, so that's good news.
That's good, okay.
I've got some other friends and family here that are okay as well, and I'm hoping the same for the majority of these people right here.
Absolutely. I know a lot of your friends and neighbors are around there, John, and you're doing a remarkable job dealing with that emotion, as well as trying to give us the facts and the scope of the damage there.
Has the situation...
As you can see, Kevin,
Go ahead, John.
Go ahead, Linda.
Has the
I was
situation...
going to say, as you can see, that fire right there is just completely engulfing that house, and fire crews can't get there because they've got more important things to do than put out a house fire. One thing that we hope doesn't happen is these houses they're probably about 8 to 10, 12 feet away. Well, they're more than 8. They're probably 10 to 12 on that one right there we're showing you. I'm hoping that it doesn't spread to that and then just kind of leapfrog effect. I'm looking back behind us, and there's some heavy rain, but I think it's going to go north. But as you can see, the fire crews are so wrapped up in making sure everybody's safe and trying to get everybody out that they're just letting the house completely burn. That's how the devastation here. You can't even do your basic job because you're doing so much more and trying to help everybody out. This is definitely some of the worst damage I've ever seen in my life, and I've been to a few Middle Eastern countries. This is especially when this is your hometown. This is where you're from. It's hard to see all this, and these houses are just gone. I mean, the foundation, there's trees, there's nothing. It's just bare ground. It's ripped completely. It's ripped the grass up even. And if it could have ripped dirt up, I'm sure it did. I bet you the elevation's a few inches lower as this storm just tracked from Newcastle all the way to almost Draper Lake there.
You know, we become somewhat cavalier, John, when we hear these tornado warnings, because you live in Oklahoma, it happens all the time. But when you see the devastation like this, and of course the damage that we saw in yesterday's tornadoes and storms, it reminds you have to have a place where you can go underground. It's simply not enough to be in a closet anymore when storms of this magnitude scour their way through our towns and communities and families and neighborhoods.
Well, that's so, and I just put together a story about a fellow who and his family jumped in their closet yesterday with that big tornado that went through. It didn't do much good because the house was picked up and turned upside down, and they're all in the hospital now. So what you said is a very good point. It's amazing that the Warren didn't sustain more damage there, John.
He's talking to
he's got a lot going on up there.
Tony Beverly. Tony Beverly runs one of our live trucks. Let's go to him right now. Tony, tell us, first of all, where you are and what you're seeing.
Well, Linda, I'm here off of Southwestern. I'm in between 134 and 149, Southwest 134 and 149. I'm over here near the Orr family.
Fixed rate mortgage for 2.5% rate and APR with no closing costs.
When the tornado sirens blared and the weathermen said, please take cover, that the vast majority, if not all of them, did, and that the people of this strong region have managed to survive, the likes of which we have not seen in many years. Joplin, Missouri comes to mind, a town that was absolutely wiped off the map, parts of it at least, about 2 years ago. Joplin, Missouri, however, was a storm that didn't stay on the ground as long, a storm that was not as wide, and now the chopper reporter listening from above and looking as people search through that debris for anybody's mom or dad or anybody's son or daughter who might be in there and needing help. Let's continue to listen to the live sound from the choppers, and in a moment we'll go to our correspondent who is not there but is nearby. Actually, Casey Stiegel is nearby in Shawnee, Oklahoma, which is an area that was hit just yesterday in a devastating way. Casey?
Yeah,
it's my understanding this is headed your way.
It really is, and I'm standing outside of a casino right now where we've kind of been hunkered down, and I'm staring at a wall cloud as I'm speaking to you. The clouds off to our west getting really dark, and it's headed this way. It's sort of jogging the cell right now that went through Moore, Oklahoma not long ago that we're seeing all of this devastation from. The cell crossed Interstate 35, which is just to the southwest, southeast of Oklahoma City metro area, and then it broke up. Well, it is starting to sort of reform again, and the meteorologists have their eye on it, and we've been watching the local weather reports. Seasoned meteorologists from the Oklahoma City market that have really just been sort of taken aback by what has happened here this afternoon, and they're keeping a very close eye on this. We're about 30 miles to the southeast of Oklahoma City. Now, we overnighted in Oklahoma City, but we came here because this was one of the hardest hit areas of Shawnee, where 2 of the fatalities were reported yesterday. But basically, we are at this casino right along Interstate 40, Shepherd, which is a major freeway that runs east-west through the state of Oklahoma. And this new cell that produced this gargantuan tornado in Moore, Oklahoma, where we're seeing this destruction and devastation, is now jogging to the east along Interstate 40. And we're sort of, kind of batten down the hatches here at this casino, and we're watching it move in. But we're trying to get there, obviously, but clearly safety is paramount. And just as soon as these storms pass and we are out of danger, then obviously we're going to try and get over into the Moore area as soon as we can, because it doesn't look good, Shepard.
Thank you. I want to give our viewers some updates on some important matters which we've just received. We've just learned that the Moore Medical Center was among the dozens, if not hundreds, of buildings hit and has been evacuated. So as for medical facilities in the city of Moore, if there are any, we don't know about them. We can further report, I mentioned that an elementary school had been hit and in large part destroyed. That's Briarwood Elementary. There are pictures out of there at this moment. We have no reports of any injuries from there, at least not right now. The word we're getting from Moore, Oklahoma is that residents who had taken shelter in their tornado shelters and others who have not been injured in this are just out by the hundreds, if not thousands, trying to help people who have not been so fortunate. To look at the house in the center of the picture there, which is largely untouched, and then the piles of boards next to it tells a story, and so does this. It appears that they've set up a medical triage center in the middle of what I believe is the parking lot of a school, and if they have doctors there, they're very fortunate. If they don't, I'm guessing that a friend is helping friend and neighbor helping neighbor in the middle of what most likely is probably the worst situation of their lives. Some may have been there in 1999, but so many I'm quite confident were not. The pictures are coming in and out. These are not live pictures, but pictures from a moment ago, and these are live pictures coming in now from outside this school. They're breaking up a little bit, but you understand that with the weather like this, our signals depend on weather that isn't as inclement as this, and every time the chopper pans around, you get a sense of the absolute devastation. There's an ambulance on scene, which is a good sign. Some houses are left standing. In some places, we just see piles of rubble. And a few minutes ago, the chopper was panning over an area where all you saw was foundation after foundation, as if the tornado had picked up whatever once stood there, and hopefully not whoever once was.
His daughter brings me what she calls the anguish, but it's not quite.
3. The big one was the Newcastle across Moore, and then finally dying over Lake Stanley Draper. That was the big one. It was the very first one as well. This whole line of weather began around Duncan, Oklahoma about 3 hours ago. One supercell tried to pick up. It kind of died off. Another one along the dry line picked up as well. And then they started to catch. And when they caught, they had the updrafts going, the downdrafts going, everything working, and they weren't battling each other. There were 3 separate supercells traveling just to the northeast, and the one that picked up the rotation right over Newcastle drove right itself right over Moore. And here are still, again, pictures of what Moore, Oklahoma looks like right now at this hour. There are 3 of the cells. There's the cell that came out of Wichita Falls. There's the cell a little bit farther to the north, Pauls Valley. And then there's the cell into Oklahoma City, the same one we're talking about, which could be still making a tornado very close to, I'd say, east of Hara, maybe north of McLeod, toward the Meeker area as well. These storms are still severe. It's the hot part of the day. It's still 4 in the afternoon, a little after that. The hot part of the day is the most severe part of the day because that hot air wants to rise like a hot air balloon. The hotter the balloon is, the higher it goes. The hotter the air is, the bigger the storm is. And we're still in that hot part of the day, Wolf.
You know what? I want to listen to our affiliate KFOR for a minute. They've got live reports coming in. Let's listen to this.
We've got some emergency crews here just along 177 as we're heading north. We're going to try to get into it as far as we can and see what kind of damage it's been doing if it's still on the ground. And I do believe that there's some section vortices probably still in contact with the ground just due to the immense darkness and turning that's going on in front of us here. So, folks, obviously off into the Meeker area, you're going to want to be heads up. Same rotation as yesterday. Just be ready to go if you have to. And we urge you, if you're in the path of the storm, probably going to want to get below ground or to a safe spot as soon as possible. Mike, back to you.
Mark, again, you're right there. Now, the important thing we have to pass along to you, for you folks in Meeker, this is what it very much appears to be a large tornado, and I don't take that statement lightly because this is the same storm that produced the destruction in Moore and the South Metro. It's the same storm. It is cycled. The wind velocities that we are showing are large and violent, so it is a big tornado. You saw Mark Dillard's stream. That was it in the middle of that darkened area. That could be debris, and it is heading directly for the town of Meeker. And it's only 5 miles west of Meeker right now. You folks in Meeker, protect your life. Be out of the way, below ground. Interior closet or bathroom is not going to be enough. Storm cellar, basement, safe room. If you're in your mobile home, evacuate that mobile home. This is what we believe a large tornado. You see the hook spinning around. It's over Jacktown right now on Highway 62, and it's heading directly toward Meeker. I want to go back to Mark Dillard. This is again live, and we're talking about a continued threat to life and limb in the Jacktown, Meeker area right now. Let's go back to Mark Dillard. Mark, how far south of 62 are you right now?
Mike, I think we're just about a full south here. Still got some wrapping.
Oklahoma City in the area of Moore, and a massive tornado touched down. The damages
We're a little north of that. So let's get back now to KFOR's coverage in Oklahoma City and see what they're saying about this devastating tornado there.
I do have some definition off to my north and east. I can almost see all the way underneath it, I think, Mike. So I'm not for sure that we've got a funnel all the way in contact with the ground, but our winds are picking up just a little bit here as we're getting closer to the circulation, and I do have a lot of rapid rain with it. So the bottom line is, folks, it's created large damage. It's been a long track system so far.
Okay, let's go to the North Doppler control room. I do believe this is on the ground. It's up on those rotating rain curtains. There's Jacktown right there. Here's Highway 62. This is Meeker.
Okay, so we were just watching the coverage there from some of the storm chasers who were following this storm near Meeker, and as we look at it on Doppler radar, we are seeing some evidence of rotation there. You can see right in here some rotation with the cell. There's some cooler air wrapping in right there. There's the inflow notch. So this is the area where we'd be watching for the tornado. If there is one, certainly it's going to be very close to the Meeker area, but not nearly the velocity signature that we saw earlier today. And this is, again, the same cell that came across Moore, Oklahoma. But Brian Norcross is joining me now. And Brian, we've been looking at some of the scenes of devastation there from Moore, and absolutely horrendous. I mean, oftentimes when you see tornado damage, you'll see some areas where houses have been swept off their foundations, you know, maybe a small section of a neighborhood. And from what we saw, it appeared that perhaps there were entire streets that were in that condition.
Yeah, this is going to be a bigger damage path than 1999, and 1999 was spectacular and something that we just so rarely see. I mean, we saw it in Joplin, we saw it in Tuscaloosa, right? But this looks like a bigger, wider tornado than we even saw in those cases. We don't know the strength, but just looking at it, when you see every building, even manufactured buildings, being wiped off their foundation and ripped apart, you know that it's at the upper end of the scale. This is Meeker. Now, this is to the west of Prague, Oklahoma, and let's listen in on KFOR.
5 miles, so it's right on top of Meeker right now. So folks, take your tornado precautions if you're in this area in the path of the storm, because it's been down or already be on the ground and just a rain wrap and not being able to see it. Mike?
Okay, let's go to the storm tracker, talk about this storm further south heading for Pauls Valley. Again, it has to be a balance between continued threat to life and what we have had happen.
All right, so again, we are following this tornado here that is not very far away from Meeker, and you can see right in here, this little notch is where the tornado is located. That's right along 62. Apparently, we're
80 degrees on the day today, falling.
Absolutely tremendous rotational signature on Doppler radar, but nonetheless, we are seeing, at least in the video there, that there very well could be a tornado that is headed towards Meeker. So it's time now to take shelter to get to your safe location in the Meeker area. And I don't know if we can go back to some of the video of the destruction that we saw earlier today in Moore. Now it's just about an hour ago. But Brian, as you mentioned, this was perhaps very different from the Moore tornado that occurred in 1999 because it was so large, maybe looking at a 1.5 mile wide path. And we saw that as we were watching the video. We saw this incredible lowering, and it's absolutely heartbreaking to see, at least in one section, it looked like there were several streets where the houses may have been cleared away. And that's why, you know, in cases like that, if you're not underground, there's almost no safe place to be.
As they proved in 1999, folks that actually did the right thing unfortunately didn't survive that because their house was completely blown away, and we saw that in other tornadoes as well. Once they get up into that upper ef-4, ef-5 range, and by the way, remember the Moore, Oklahoma tornado in 1999 was the fastest wind speed ever recorded on the Earth.
That's right.
Because they happened to have those mobile Dopplers out there.
Yes.
It was early in that technology, and this was the first time they deployed them in that way, and they had over 300-mile-an-hour winds. First time and only time that's ever been recorded. Now, we don't know that that's happened here, but as you said, this is a wider tornado path, and significantly wider, it just looks like from the initial aerials here. And you see the damage there. It looks like Joplin. It looks like in that ef-4, ef-5 range. It's just hard to imagine that everybody got out of that incredibly wide area. There's I-35. We think that's I-35. We shouldn't say, but that does visually look like I-35.
Yeah, we were.
And that makes sense because we know the tornado came over the interstate there, and as it moved just south of downtown Moore.
That's right, and we were looking at the velocity signatures from this storm as it was coming right through Moore. It actually was peaking in intensity right over Moore, and the velocity signatures, and we're looking up a few thousand feet in the air when we look at these, they were indicating that the winds were probably around 200 miles per hour. So we know that at least for a time, the winds that were above the ground were somewhere around 200 miles per hour. So it's certainly not a stretch to think that we'd be seeing wind like that on the ground.
You know, we saw those long track tornadoes. We talk about these long track tornadoes. This was not one of them, right?
Yes.
Right. This was actually a very short track tornado, and as you said, very unfortunately, it peaked over the densest population that it went over. It got spun up quickly. It just roared to life essentially, and became this a perfect looking, just spectacular looking tornado, and then it dissipated quickly thereafter, but that peak time was over Moore, Oklahoma.
All right, we want to go back now to some of KFOR's coverage.
Where we're told, we just spoke with Dr. Orr, the owner here, and you could see the entire landscape here. This is 106 acres completely wiped out by the path of this tornado that just tracked right through this area. You can't even tell what any of this stuff was. One of the first questions I had for them when I got out here, I said, were these homes? What was this? you honestly can't even tell it. But they tell me that these were horse stalls out here where they'd store a ton of these horses. A lot of the animals didn't make it through the storm. And then if you look farther off in the distance, you can see homes that are on the other side of this